Welcome to another episode of the Rainmaker Family Show. Today we have Stacy Tuschel, and I'm so excited to hear from her. She is a high performance coach, sought after speaker. She has taken her own business she started when she was 18 years old. It built that to a 7-figure brick and mortar business that she is still running today. And she is a mom. She has 2 beautiful girls, doing so many things, but also all about working smarter, not harder. So welcome to the show, Stacy.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to chat with you guys.
Now we're excited, but not only that, our community is excited because we put out a post when we started our podcast. Who do you want to hear from on our show? And your name came up in the comments
Oh my
like
goodness.
multiple times. And I was like, wait a second, I think we're in a mastermind with her. And so I just messaged you. And so I'm so glad it worked out, but I know they're going to be giddy. Our moms in our community have been following your Instagram. And I love just like the high level strategies you really bring on there.
Yeah.
It's honestly been serving me in this season, as we've been growing our business and doing team stuff and operations and all the fun, but not so fun stuff sometimes. Like you have some amazing resources. So I'm excited to dig in and just dive into some of these topics. So
Let's do it.
the first one that kind of came to my head, because I was like, oh, Stacy's such a unique guest because you've worked with people at all different stages. You've gone from 0 to over 7 figures in multiple businesses, but also coached and trained and helped people in these different areas. So I would love it if you could kind of speak to maybe like the startup who's like under 6 figures, then speak to the 6 figures and then to the 7 figures. What are the biggest bottlenecks you see at those different phases? Because there's totally different problems at those different phases.
Yeah.
And so I'd love for you to hit that for a bit.
Yeah. So even though there are totally different issues, you are always the number one biggest bottleneck, no matter where you are. Like, let's just put that out there on the table right now. It is you, but there are other problems that you're dealing with in those phases. So 0 to 6 figures, you just need to make sure you are doing anything you can to find your market and to find the product that they want to buy. And that is it. Like, you just got to get to 100K as fast as you can, but as smart as you can. Because if you run out of resources, that's why businesses fail, right? They run out of cash flow. So you've got to be really, really careful that you aren't just jumping into things without really thinking things through. And then I would say at that 100K mark, the 100 and up, right? All of a sudden, you've got this winning thing, but now you think the solution is more, more, more. Like the next thing, let's add a platform, let's add a product, and really the best thing you could do at 100K is just stay with the one thing that got you to 100K. And I am saying this out loud, but I know I didn't do that. And I know I should have, like, several times. So I think that's it. Like, stay in your lane and just keep selling that thing and just getting it better, and product mastery and better onboarding for your clients and a better client experience and just all the things. Yeah, pretty soon, I think after you've got that 100K, you've dialed it in, you're heading into multiple 6 figures, maybe even shooting for 7. Now it's bringing on other people to help. So now it's letting go of control, right? It's not how do I create more? How do I do more? It's who can help me create this? Who can help me do XYZ? And that is by far the most difficult because we want to control everything.
Man, it's so good because I'm just like, we are totally guilty of that whole like getting to 6 too, and then like doing other things. Like, what's with us entrepreneurs? Sometimes we're like, oh, I got something great that's working. Let me try something completely different that's not even related or something like that.
Right.
We did that
Well,
for so many years, had multiple 6-figure businesses, but like none of them were really moving the needle, past a
yep.
certain point. It wasn't until
Yeah.
we really trimmed down and focused that we were able
Yeah.
to cross the 7-figure mark. But it's just so
Yeah.
funny because, like, I don't know, is it boredom? Like, what do you think it is about entrepreneurs that we're always just like, oh, let me try something else?
I think it comes maybe from a lack of confidence in what we're doing. We're thinking the answer is outside of us. It's outside of what's already there. So I had a client today who has like a very successful membership that she's getting off the ground and it's working. And she was like, okay. So I thought she was going to come on and talk about her membership. And instead she talked about this like new book club. I was like, wait, what happened to the membership? And she's like, well, I'm still doing that. I'm like, great, let's talk about that. Because this book club thing sounds like a really shiny object. And she said, well, the members actually asked for it. So now it's in her head that it's like a proven thing. People actually want it. And I'm like, no, no, no. The book club needs to pause because you're creating $1 million membership. Like, it might not be there yet, but the only way it gets there is by you saying no to even things your people are asking for.
That's powerful. The power
When
of no.
Yes, the power of no. When would you say, like, for instance, this client or anyone in particular who is thinking that way, where you do have people in your community? Because I think that would be hard. I mean, we see that in our community or coaches asking, like, I love this in our Slack channel. We have like a future ideas thing. And I love that. And I love empowering team, but we can't get too sidetracked in all these things. So when do you feel like it's appropriate? It makes sense for you to add the book club in or whatever it is.
Yeah, great question. So first, I always go back to like, what is the goal? If the goal is just strictly they want to hit a certain revenue, like the fastest way to hit that revenue is by dialing in the one thing you actually have, not something that no one has pulled out their credit card for yet, right? And I know for her specifically, she wants to dial in and get consistency because she wants to get her time back because she wants to become a mom at some point. So knowing that, I basically just kind of coached her on stay here. Let's scale this thing. Let's get you cruising, right? Yeah, and it's that shiny object of, well, they want it. They're asking for it. So I should do it. I'll make more money. But really, you'll make more money dialing in the one thing, right? If you can create that one membership or that one product just to be like the absolute best and get your customers the best results. And if you could dial in their customer experience and their onboarding and this and that, you'll scale so much faster. So we've got to go back to like, why do you want to add that thing? And for her, it was she wants to make more money. She wants to have consistency so she can have a baby soon. And adding another product is not actually going to get her more money. I think she'll do it better in the other place. And it's definitely not going to help her with scaling back and having more consistency for baby, right? So you've really got to figure out what your intention is and then decide where you want to go. But to me, I always tell people you want to set it up and set it up so well that everybody else is kind of doing the work for you. It would run without you. If you're to a place where you have a product that is running without you, you're getting consistent leads, you're converting all the time, you don't have to do anything but just show up and do whatever it is you want to do, then great. Add on another thing if you want to, but just know that if it's for money reasons, the question becomes like, is that thing still scalable? Because if it is, stay there.
That's amazing. I feel like systems and operations and all those things was something we didn't even really think about until like we needed it like months ago, right?
Yeah.
And I love how you are really encouraging people to do that even from like early on in the business,
Yeah.
like some ways that people can really start to systemize parts of their
Mhm.
process because I think
Yeah.
we came from like a creative industry. We were wedding photographers and videographers. I know
Yeah.
you kind of came from the dance world. And
Mhm.
that I feel like in those industries, it's almost harder to release control because you're like,
Mm.
oh, only I teach it this way or only I edit it this way. Right. And so, for us, putting language to what we do is very hard. But how do you
Yeah.
find, or do you have any tools or things that help people really document what they're doing so that they
Yeah.
can find people to help them when they do need that help?
Right. So the idea here is not to systematize your whole business. It's going to take you a long time to do that. And there will be a time and a place when that actually is your main focus. But in the beginning, it's not. But where you do want to put your energy and attention to systems is where it's costing you money, right? So if you are doing certain promotions and you want a checklist for how you set up your Facebook ads so you don't make a big mistake and forget to put this targeting or to do this here, right? Like that's a system you want to put in place to make sure it never happens again if you've messed up, right? You might want to put a social media system into place of what you're expecting, how often we post, when we post, how we check the analytics, what should we do when we see the analytics have gone up, gone down, the same, right? All the things. So you want to ask yourself, what is actually moving the needle in our business, right? And then from there, what could I put into place to systematize that to make sure we start to measure it and we start to watch it increase? So I think a few places to really have it is definitely your sales system, right? People don't think about sales as a system, but once you've started selling, it's like, how do I systematize this? How do I automate this? How do I bring in that lead, nurture them, right? And as I'm doing that, what does the onboarding process look like? I mean, a lot of times people could be selling and making more money if they taught people how to use their product. Like, for instance, if I buy, like, I'm not a makeup girl, like, I'll buy the things and then I never wear them or never use them. And I remember I bought like all of this stuff for my face, like these serums, and I don't even know what they do, but I bought everything, but I
Sounds
didn't
like
know how to
me.
use them. Okay. I like spent all the money, it comes in the mail, and then I'm like, when do I put on 17 different lotions, like on my makeup, like morning routine? Like, I don't even know when to do with it. If they were to educate me in that process, like onboard me with their makeup, if they were to say, watch this video for my morning makeup routine or watch this video for my evening routine, and I started to use it, I would buy it again. Right. But if you just get one sale because you're good at marketing, but you don't teach people how to use your product and get results, same thing with our digital products, all of it, right? That's going to hurt us in the end. So I know people think systematizing doesn't sound fun. It doesn't sound like it would help you make money, but it actually helps you make a lot of money in certain areas of the business.
I love that. And, we help moms launch products on Amazon. And I even am seeing this like could really serve them
Mhm.
in just systematizing like communication with customers. Like, how do you get a review on that product? Like, that's a system, right? That's a system. And once you do it for one product and it's working, you can do it for future products. So I love this idea of you do the work once, but then this thing runs for you or runs
Yeah.
without you, or it makes it easier for you to do it the second time because you're like, I don't have to go
Yep.
research and watch all the videos. You're like, I'll just go to my Google Doc or wherever and just follow the
Mhm.
steps.
Absolutely.
And Stacey, I know we're talking about like business systems and getting things in place. I would love if you would just touch on a little bit about like your own personal home life as far as what
Mm.
you like, what structures you have in place, or maybe when you were starting out closer to like that six
Yeah.
figure mark, and even now with your girls, and I know your husband, so that you're showing up as the most powerful CEO you can be. And then, so I call it switching hats back to that mom mode that we
Yes.
all want without having that mom guilt and things.
Yeah, for sure. So the biggest thing, I love that you say that. I am the same way. I wear my work hat right now, and the second I'm done with work, it's like mom hat is on. And I have to really be good at that transition. Like it's even a system of how I transition. If I just hang up with you and then walk out and they're there and I'm hanging out, that is really hard for me to switch gears, right? So I might want to have like my end of the day wrap up where I'm like double checking my email that if anything came through, I want to finish that up. I might want to jump into my project management software and talk to my team. I might even want to meditate or maybe go for a walk or maybe do a quick workout, something to just get me out of work mode so I can truly transition into mom mode. So I think that's probably the biggest thing I do is that transition. But then getting on the same page with everybody on in the family, right? So there are systems all around our house. Like I treat my household like as another business where we're systematizing it. So there are rhythms, there are routines. If you're feeling like, man, I got to grocery shop again and we forgot. And like, why do we always like run out of like lunches for the kids' meals? And it's like, well, do you have it in your calendar? Do you know when you grocery shop and how you grocery shop? Do you have a reminder to do an online grocery shopping? Like anything like that to systematize, right? So what is your frustration and what are you always like being late for? Or I had this problem where I would always need gas when I was running late. Like always. It was just like the light would come on and I'm already running late and I have to get gas. Now, one of the things that I do is after church on Sundays, I get gas so that, and I think Sunday, I have nothing to do. I'm done with church, going home. I'm home the rest of the day. I'm not in a rush. It's the perfect time to fill up my tank. But then the rest of the week, when I'm running late or doing whatever I need to do, I don't ever have to worry about that being a situation. So it's like these really weird little things where when you start to get that in a rhythm and routine, life just starts to feel less complicated, less overwhelming, right? And getting systems with your spouse, your significant other. So we know exactly what days I take the girls to school and when I pick them up and when he does. So we don't have to have like a Sunday meeting to talk about the week. We have all of our weeks look like the same. So we know who takes them to gymnastics and who picks them up and what happens on Saturday. So I think the more you can systematize and put routines into place, and children love routines. So if you're a mom, like they love it, they thrive off of it. It's just so nice to be able to do that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm
And
like dreaming of all the things we can do already
yeah.
of like, oh, we could do this, we could do that. So
Yeah. And being flexible too, knowing that could change. Like we just welcomed baby number 2, which is awesome. But we're figuring out
Yeah.
what systems actually work for us and what systems
Right.
don't work for us. And to not like compare that like one mom, this, wakes up,
Yeah.
drinks her coffee, works out like at 5 a.m. Like I remember I used to watch
Mm.
different women in business who like they would wake up all the time early. And in that season of my life, waking up was like the worst thing that I wanted to do. I fit, coffee and working out at a different point. And now I'm like going back to the morning routine, because it's just powerful. But I think in the systems, both in business and in your work, your family life you just talked about, it allows you to have freedom and to not run late, to not feel all these things that we sometimes do and put pressure on ourselves. If something we know that's going to happen in advance, then we're good and it's covered, and you don't have to be running out of gas while you've got your kiddos in your car trying to make the next meeting. So I love that.
Right. Well, and I think with one season, something works, it breaks at a different stage, right? Your family's growing. And as you grow into different things, or right now, my kids are only in activities that repeat the same day and same time. Well, if all of a sudden one of them wants to be in soccer and the games are all over the place, like our life will have to change and pivot and adapt. But you also got to be very intentional about what do we want. So I've been very intentional about like no activities on the weekends. So my kids aren't in activities on the weekends because I've never given that as an option. Like I never said, do you want to do soccer? Do you want to do basketball? It was basically looking at what works best for our family so we could be together on the weekends and we could enjoy our time together, right? But again, that's my preference. Like that's what works for us. You've got to figure out, what are your boundaries? What do you want to do? Maybe you grew up as a baseball family and you love running around to the baseball games and like that's like where your memories are. Then do you and figure out how that feels good to you.
What's like one of your favorite family systems that you've set up in the last couple of years that you're like, oh, this one, like the kids just totally thrive. It's brought a lot of peace to the marriage. Like what is one of those ones that comes to mind?
Yeah. So we have this book and I wish I knew what it's called. I can tell you after. I'll have to look it up, but it's a It's a family values book. And my kids love anything with prompts. So if I like role play with them or give them a question, they love it. So like this month, our family value is honesty. And this book, you read a paragraph or two and you talk about what honesty is. And then like my kiddos like drew a picture of the word honesty and they put it in their bedroom. And then like they'll come home from school and I'll say, where did you have an opportunity to show honesty today? Right. And it's funny because my oldest was like, well, I was speaking when I shouldn't have been speaking and the teacher yelled at somebody else, but then I raised my hand and said it was me. And I'm like, well, good, but don't do that because your teacher is asking you not to.
Too honest.
But like they're getting it. Right. They're getting it and they're excited. And as we're talking, this is like early May, and it was like April 30th. And my daughter said, can we read next month's value? Like they get excited about like the way to show it and what it means and all the things, right? And really like that's kind of an end of the night practice that we do. But then we also do gratitude. So at the end of the night, it's like, well, what's one thing you're grateful for or one thing that was amazing that happened today? And I think for me, one of the things where I feel like I have thrived in my businesses is because I'm very optimistic and I can always see where like, man, that didn't go well, but like there's a learning lesson and I'm going to look for it. And I see that characteristic in me and I want to bring that up in my children. So even when it wasn't a great day or something happened, I'm like, but what did you learn? Or what was something good that happened? Or what's something you're excited about for tomorrow, right? So we're constantly bringing back in gratitude. And that's probably one of my most favorite things. And like, even if I'm on a trip and we're FaceTiming, so we're at our mastermind together, my little one will be like, Mom, what was the best part of your day today? Like they know how to bring out the gratitude and even prompt it from me.
That's so cool.
I'm reading a book right now about habits in the household, and our oldest is 2.5. So I love the gratitude thing, and we'll definitely start with that. But it might be like a whatever comes to mind.
Right now, he's grateful for
my
snacks,
goodness. Okay, so
pouches.
I was going to say, you really could probably start it at 2.5, 3, but it was funny because my little one, when she probably was that age, so I was really asking my older one. And then my little one would just be like, anytime, wherever she went that day, she'd be like, Grandma, or like Julie, who was the babysitter.
Yeah.
So it was just like, that was what she said every day. But all of a sudden at some age, it was like, she got it and she knew what else to say or what else could she be grateful for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's sweet.
I love that. And in this particular book, in talking about habits, they're just saying like, you know, it might take your kids a little bit to get it, or they might roll their eyes. But like you just
Mhm.
mentioned, they're going
Yeah.
to be, you know, your daughter calling you at a mastermind and saying, what are you thankful for? And it just becomes what they remember as a child
Yeah.
growing up. Like this is the practice that our family did. And it's so powerful for self-esteem and just even
Yeah.
like all of those things, and how the habits and the rhythms that we bring our family into just play such a powerful role. So it's really made me think about what are our family core values, what are our habits, both in business and in life. So I am on the habit consistency like train right now, and I'm loving it. So I appreciate your wisdom and personal experience with this.
Well, and it could be something the 2 of you do together in front of your daughter while putting her to bed, right? And then all of a sudden, pretty soon she starts to contribute and it becomes a family habit.
I have a random question that's coming to my head.
Yeah.
So I don't know where this is going to go, but we serve moms. Our audience is it's probably 95% female audience in our community. I saw a stat the other day that said that I don't know the exact numbers, but women grow businesses faster than men, and it was like a very
Interesting.
interesting. It was it was like probably 15% difference. But what have you seen in working with female entrepreneurs and
Mm.
moms? What are those superpowers that you really like to call out in them and
Yeah.
help them lean into that will help them leverage their strengths to grow their business?
Yeah. So I primarily do serve women. I definitely have men in my programs, and I have got some amazing men, but there are some men that come in where I can just tell they're not going to be coachable. And I feel like a lot of times the women that come in, they are coachable and they are willing to just tell me what to do and I'll test it or I'll try it. And I think the coachability is massive because if you come into a program and you just assume you know better than the person that's teaching, you're not going to get anything out of it, right? So I think just like really being open. I think also we're very good at adapting. Like we know as moms, like what we plan that day is not going as planned, right? Like not always. So we have to adapt to things just kind of going all over the place. And I think we bring that in our business too. Like maybe the call didn't go as well, or the consult you had scheduled canceled, or your Facebook ad shut off for no reason, or like we just know, like, okay, well, what are we going to do if it didn't go as planned? So those are the big ones I think that come to mind. And I would say also resourceful, like that adaptability, the resourcefulness comes out. Like we get scrappy. We just like, let's figure this out and let's go, right? Next thing.
That's
I,
awesome.
I feel like something, I don't know if I heard it recently or read it, but just like a mom, even with one kid going from like two kid and I or another kid or multiple or whatever, and I'm
Mhm.
experiencing this right now, is like I am way more focused even when I just had our first son, because I have two and they're at different places, and it's like one might need to nurse and one might, you know, so I think even multiple kids plays into that. So I love that, the
Yeah.
resourcefulness, adaptiveness.
You've almost become like more productive
Yeah.
with two kids, which is
Yeah.
like, it sounds counter like it would work that way, but it's like you're in the work times, you are just like hyper focused now. Like we got a bunch of videos done the other day and it was just like we ended immediately on like the dot of the hour we had to end on. And it was just like, and it felt awesome. It was like, yeah, we did it. And it was back to being mom mode, So yeah, that's awesome.
Proud
Now,
of
Yeah,
all the
going
men
from 1 to
listening.
2 was a big game changer for us. We were like, "Whoa," we did not see how much harder number 2 was gonna be. But again, you figure it out as you go, and like you said, you do have to work smarter. And sometimes you figure out, "Wow, if I can do this in this amount of time, maybe that is my current schedule. Maybe we'll keep that even as things get easier."
Yeah. And we love all the guys listening to this show too, but it's just, I don't know. I love talking about women empowering women in business, and
Mhm.
women and mamas. We're just incredible. I feel like we are.
it's true.
Yeah.
It's a new era. I feel like
Mhm.
there's just a fire on like just female entrepreneurs in this season.
Yeah.
And it's so fun working with them and seeing they're willing to go to places that I think like faster, especially in the
Mhm.
transformational kind of like in the heart stuff and in like looking at the roots and not just kind of the fruit of the business, right? And that's the
Mhm.
stuff that I feel like can really take people further and farther than they've been before, but also, it allows them to enjoy the process of getting there. Cause
Mhm.
I'm sure you have this too. It's like people are like, I want to make seven figures, I want to be a millionaire, and we both know the steps to get there, but it's like
Right.
it's all the stuff that, you know, you just have to go through, to get there. That is so powerful. So do you have any like fun stories that come to mind from your community of just that transformation? Like someone comes to you, they're at one place and then where they ended up?
My favorite stories, like of course we have people making money. Yes. My favorite stories are when they've been working 7 days a week and now they're back down to working like Monday through Friday and they're with their children and I've had people say like my daughter actually noticed like I'm back for dinners or I'm present for dinners or they love that like I'm home on Saturdays. So for me, yes, I want to teach people how to make money, how to scale, but I'm trying to show people how to scale while getting their time back and getting their life back, right? I think we hustle in the beginning, like that 0 to 100K, we have to hustle, right? So we go, go, go. But at some point, the hustle has to start to like fade away. You have to start to go, this is now my life. What do I want it to look like? And it's hard for people to understand like when that time is, right? So you keep your bad habits, which is I think what you said in the beginning about like you realized you needed operations when you needed it like months ago, right? It's like you're like, how did I get here? But I'm here and I know I can't keep sustaining this level. So I think the biggest thing for me is, hearing somebody comes in with sometimes they come in with like 20 employees and they're like, well, everybody calls me when there's a problem. I'm like, what? Like you talk to 20 people, like you don't have anybody helping manage or lead. Like, well, no, it's fine. I mean, they just call me whenever they want. I'm like, no, it's not fine. Like I want to teach people how to have better boundaries, whether it's with their clients or their team members or just really how to gain not just money, but that time back as well, that balance. Switching from the hats effectively.
Yeah, that needs to be done and it needs to happen. I love that.
And, in my space, I was doing a lot of marketing and I really realized I wanted to pivot more into, I was kind of like doing 80% marketing, 20% of the team stuff. And I realized I wanted to do 80% of the team, the building, the operations, all of that. And we're going to be switching the podcast from marketing, the marketing channel, to the management channel. And we looked at the management channel. I've never really looked at it before. And it's like all guys, like everybody. I mean, like every single podcast, it's a guy, which nothing wrong with that. But if you are a mom, there are some things you are probably doing running your business that you also are carrying a little bit of extra weight in some of that mom category that we have to do. So I'm really excited to kind of be the missing gap to that conversation and really get to go deeper of like, hey, that's great if a single guy is talking about operations, but if he doesn't have kids at home and he's not with a spouse and all the things, like it makes it a little bit messier, right? And we can do it, but there's just a different way to go about it.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Stacy, for just being on today and sharing more about your systems and just going from different levels in your business, how sometimes we are often can be the bottleneck in our businesses, how to get unstuck and to create good flows and rhythms, both in business and in family. And Stacy, you do that so beautifully. I've loved following just all of your amazing content that you are putting out there, just inspiring so many people that they can do this and there are tools and everything. Where can our listeners find more information about you or just to follow along? Because you have such good content.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So Instagram is my favorite place to hang out. I'm just at Stacy Tuschl. And then the podcast is the Foot Traffic Podcast. And yeah, everything we've talked about today, like that's the kind of stuff that I really dig into. So those are probably my two favorite places, the podcast and then my Instagram channel.
Awesome. Well, you've heard it, guys. If you are not following Stacy or if you're a podcaster, want to listen and hear more from her there, highly recommend to go follow her there. So thank you again, Stacy, for your time. We just so appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Rainmaker Family Show. Hey, if you are not a part of our Rainmaker Mastermind, we have a new opportunity for you to book a one-on-one strategy call with one of our Rainmaker coaches.
If you want to get a call with them, see if it's a good fit for you to work with us to build a business that allows you to have time freedom and financial freedom, you can get that call at makeItrainmama.com/podcast. That's makeItrainmama, MOMMA.com/podcast.